Dog, you fat little turd. Oh, I'll cut you up. You regal beagle. Okay. Collars flipped down. We're going? It's happening. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Houston We Have a Problem. It's Thursday show again. Like, I think in the summers it's hard for me to do Wednesday shows because I want to go out and do things on Wednesdays, and I end up going out and do things. So another Thursday show it is. Let's see here. Andrew Tate got arrested and charged again. He and his brother. Hashtag Tate rape. They lots of evidence that they were diddling children and trafficking them, including his main lady, who he apparently started a relationship with when she was 14. So yeah, he's going down. They were released on their bail today. And Tate was very angry. There's no evidence. And then, but there's like 10 years of video footage of him talking about having sex with kids. So, yeah, there's lots of evidence. And the Romanian prison system is probably not going to like you very much. His brother very much had the 1,000-yard stare, deer in the headlights, like we're screwed look on his face. But Tate was so angry. Apparently, Tate did an interview with Aiden Ross where he was like, "Shh, don't tell anyone, but I'm getting out of here." And then Aiden Ross is like, "Shh, don't tell anyone, Tate's escaping Romania." So that should be fun. What's happening? Wells Fargo's reporting $48 billion in unrealized losses. Oops. The Democrat convention concludes tonight with Kamala Harris speech and some special guests. I assume Vegas probably has odds on Beyonce or Taylor Swift at this point. My guess is going to be Joe the Plumber. So, from Beyond the Grave. And then what else, Monkey? We have anything else to add? Oh, Fantasy Football League is set up. There's a link in the description. Click on that. Message JDaddy, and he will get you on there. If there's overflow, we'll create another league. We can take up to 12 people per league. So by all means, join. I don't know if we have a fee for it yet. It might be like $25 just to make sure people stay interested. Oh, got stickers in. Stickers have arrived. Here we go. Free stickers, little vinyl stickers. We'll start sending them out this week. If you send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, you will get a sticker. And if you are among the first 24 self-addressed envelopes, I think we're at 12 right now, you also get a prize from the 500 episode prize box. No idea what they're going to be, but those will be sent out to you as well. I need to go get a whole bunch of manila envelopes so I can ship all those things. Yeah, so there you go. Anything else you'd like to add, Monkey or Cat? No? Cool. Are we good? We do the news at the top of the show. I'm sure if there's more things to talk about, you guys will want to talk about with me. But we'll do this one.
Houston, we have a problem.
Okay, turn it off. Okay. To the chats. We got an hour and a half. Let's do this. Case Chapman was first today. Woohoo! Sometimes Sommelier was second first. Case Chapman, what do you think happens when the DIP loan matures next month? Can they extend it or get another DIP loan? Or maybe they plan on emerging in September. I think the goal is to emerge in September, personally. But they can always extend. I mean, they've done it with the other bonds. They just, go, oh, the maturity date's in August. Well, the maturity date is December. They just move it because, that's what you do in bankruptcy court. If you're planning on paying people back, you just kind of shoot for a goal and see if you get there. I think the real goal is to finish this up in September. The judge seems pretty much like, let's get this moving, people. Rite Aid is emerging from bankruptcy, where 6th Street's taken, 16% of the company or something? I don't know what's happening with shareholders in that. I do know that there are several attorneys general who are suing the in bankruptcy court because I think it affects the payouts they have for opiate cases, for OxyContin and stuff. So who knows where that's going? I've been sent a lot of stuff, but it's a lot of pages to read, and I haven't gone through all of them yet. So, yeah. Belgian Whale, I'm here now, but I'm not sure I'll be here for the start. Bit drunk. It's Thursday, man. Bill Coyne, last. Andrew Stewart, Houston. The other day you said the universe is expanding faster than the speed of light. Can you explain that further? Doesn't seem to make sense. Okay. We can explain that, and we'll have to do that via MS Paint. I gotta go paint. Boom. Oops, not on that screen. Over on the screen, my friend. And I need to make you nice and big. Okay. Boom. Google Earth. You need to go away. And paint. There we go. All right. So, the example I usually do with my students is I line them up. So, let's see, brushes. I'm on a decent sized brush so you can see what we're doing. So I line them up and, right, just have them stand next to each other. And then I stand next to each other and I have them all move so that they then become like one arm length, like one wingspan away from each other. And when they do that, you know, they end up, these will be their arm spans here. They end up, you know, pretty far away from each other, right? So according to their next door neighbor, they're just one arm span away. Whereas before, like if you imagine the wingspan of a person might be able to cover 2 or 3 people, right? So the person who's on the far outside, he or she is now 2 arm lengths away rather than 1 arm length away. But when they all move to the fact that they're 1 arm length away from each other, you end up with the fact that they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 arm lengths away all of a sudden from one end to the other. And so it looks like the person on this side is expanding way faster than anyone else. And so this is kind of how it happens in the universe. You can imagine it like you make a muffin, a chocolate chip muffin, and you put all the little chocolate chips in there, or blueberries or whatever. And as the muffin bakes, it grows. According to each and every single solitary blueberry or chocolate chip inside of that muffin, it looks like all the other blueberries and chocolate chips are moving away from them, from their perspective. You take a balloon, draw a bunch of dots on a balloon, blow the balloon up. According to each dot on that balloon, it looks like all the other dots are moving away from it. So when the universe when something is far enough away from us in the universe, the relative velocity at which it's expanding away from us due to the inflation of the universe is greater than the speed of light as a result. So you look back 14 billion light years ago and you can't see any further because everything beyond that range is expanding away from us. And so that's the basis behind why the Hubble constant is what it is and the apparent velocity of everything in the universe. The Hubble constant is about 70 kilometers per second per megaparsec. So it looks like anything that is about 3 million light years from us appears to be moving about 70 kilometers per second away from us. So if they're 6 million, they're moving 140 kilometers per second. If they're 9 million, they're moving 210 kilometers per second, and so on. And it gets to a point, because the universe is gigantic, but when you're billions and billions and billions of light years away, you're now expanding faster than the speed of light. So, there you go. Yeah. Oh crap, didn't drop the other one. Kitty. That's right. She doesn't scratch her little face. Okay, speaking of kitties, I think a kitten's showing up today at some point. So, turn the video off before you ding dong. Turn that off. Then talk about kittens. We got a little kitten coming, Imuna. She's a little trash cat from the back of the grocery store. So we're pretty excited. She should be showing up, I think, today. She's supposed to show up last night, but then my roommate's friend, who was making sure she got weaned and everything, couldn't make it. So, fingers crossed, you got a kitten showing up. Belgian Whale says, is it strange to say you are one of my best friends? That drunk talk. I love you, man. Well, thank you. The parasocial relationships are very real. Okay, Rose Moon, Houston. I asked this before, but not sure if you saw it or got to it. Why does your mom hate the name Huey? I think because of Baby Huey. She just didn't want me to be called Baby Huey, so she did not like it. My nickname growing up was Hootie or Hooter, which, you know, just being called Boob is one way to get around that. But some people still, you know, I still see like parents to friends of mine from childhood like Hooter, and they say hi and high five and all that stuff. But yeah, so I was named after a guy named Houston Mondy, who was sort of my dad's mentor when he was growing up. He was a boat builder, and my dad wanted to name me Houston Mondy Wade. My mom was like, they're gonna call him Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. No, so I didn't get the Mondy part, but I got the Houston part. Jason Blackwell, Houston. I found out my girlfriend likes Mexican food. We finally have something to taco about. That's a very, very old one. Mike Forsch, MMTLP. They have not released an S1 or S4 yet. I'm predicting S1, that they're gonna go back to trying to spin off Nuco. I think aren't we waiting for one more 10Q to be filed? I believe. Alexander K. Happy birthday, Houston. If you could have a pet rock from any geologic era, which era would you choose and why? I mean, I have a lot of pet rocks. What would I pick, Monkey? Where'd you go? I pick igneous, metamorphic. Probably igneous. Probably one of those guys up there. Up right there. Those are the my God, my brain is now failing me. Jesus Christ. Not Kimberlite. Duh. It's been too long since I've been out in the wild. My gosh, why is my Lamperite? Oh my God, I don't know, my brain was totally farting on that one. Lamperite. It's like the rarest volcanic rock on the planet, and about half of them are diamondiferous. So the diamonds at Crater Diamonds in Arkansas is lamperite. The diamonds that you get from India are lamperite. I believe the diamonds at the Argyle mine in Australia are lamperite diamonds as well. So a lot of colored diamonds come out of those. And the lamperite, which you can barely see right up there, is from Black Butte in Wyoming. And I have not found diamonds there yet. I did find a bunch of peridot. I did anthill mining out there. And the ants are great. I think I've talked about anthill mining before, but the ants, they burrow in the ground and they get things out of their way. They make their little tunnels. Whenever there's a rock, they just get out of their way. They add to the pile on top of their hole, which is actually works as a great shield because it keeps the water from flowing into the hole. But crystals are little rocks, and so you can just take a shovel and go shunk, dump it into a screener, and start picking out hundreds and hundreds of carats of gemstones. So if you are in an area where there's diamonds, peridot, garnets, sapphires, you name it, opals, rubies, emeralds, and there's ants, go dig in an anthill. Yeah, they might climb all over you and bite you sometimes, but they do all the work for you. So you can get anything that's, it's probably, between at biggest maybe 2 or 3 carats, but it's a great way to do some mining and not have to do it the hard way. The ants did all the work for you. So I recommend that a lot. Snurtlert, Houston, PBY News in layman's terms, thanks in advance. MJL is screwed. They're going to level sanctions against him. So they denied his motion with prejudice, meaning he can't ever bring it again. And they're pissed off and they want him to pay. And I'm not sure how much of the attorneys from which sides, if he's just going to be paying attorneys on the estate side, or if he's going to have to be paying attorneys for all the sides involved, including creditors. He's boned. Also, it looks like they're trying to take a bunch of people who had claims against the estate because of gift cards. Right? You pay $100 for a gift card, you get a gift card, and you can't use it anymore. They're supposed to have an account with that money sitting in it, so you can make a claim against the estate to get your money back. And a lot of the claims were made as administrative claims, and they're getting reclassified as unsecured creditor claims. So they're going to be down that 2.5% guarantee to get back, which may turn out to be more, etc. That's all the BBY news I got. Boris Rasmussen win Moas tomorrow. Belgian whale just got 10,000 no lab share today. Let's fucking go. Well, congratulations. Fabrizio, I think I'm finally first today. You are not. You missed it by 15 minutes. So it's because you didn't plop. That's why. Belgian whale also went surfing today. Fourth time. First sesh was superb, and second, the sea chose violence. Ruthless wipeouts in the Dutch seas. All right. Nikes, happy birthday. Did your package make it? Hope you like. I went to the post office yesterday. It wasn't there. I'm going today after the show, pick it up. I have a couple of packages that Mystery Michael sent me I haven't opened yet, and a whole bunch of envelopes. So I have, you can see, this is what's arrived, that pile right there. I have a bunch of envelopes, send stickers in. So again, send self-addressed stamped envelopes. You'll get a sticker. If you're among the first 24 or so, you'll get a mystery package from Michael Mystery. And I'm deciding, like, how would I do a reveal on the mystery packages? Should I, like, that's what I'll do. Okay, I'm going to get manila envelopes, varying sizes. And I'm going to write the addresses down in the manila envelopes. We will unbox, and I'll just randomly pick an envelope and throw whatever the item is in there. That's how we're going to do it, right? That sound cool, Monkey? Yeah? Yeah, you're cool with that, because you're a cool dog. Okay. Video brand. Boy, my feet are crying. Concrete is horrible to stand on. This is true. Takes years and years of practice to be able to stand on concrete for long periods of time. Brandon Wells is here. Kelly Reed. Happy birthday, HW. Canadian Railways shut down due to strike. Pilots decide to go on strike. TD Bank unloads Charles Swap stock after USA fine. Yeah, they got a $3 billion fine for TD got a $3 billion fine for basically knowingly letting cartels launder their cash through their bank. The theory is that TD knew this fine was coming, and that's why they offloaded their trading platform to Schwab. But we know Schwab is also toast, so their stock price is dropping yet again because they're doomed. They have about $380 billion in unrealized losses or something that are coming. So, right? Oh, you're just a little dog. You were just a scratchy little dog, aren't you? So, yeah. Canadian Railways shut down. It's $750 million a year in commerce that is not moving across the country. They should have done a strike here in the U.S. and they would have gotten a much better deal. But the U.S. government stopped them from doing that because they're evil. So, yeah, things are happening. It looks like the Labour Party in Canada, if the election were to happen today, would get absolutely smoked everywhere except Quebec. Numbers do not look good for Labour. So, we'll see what happens. I think elections are, what, a year from now, our Canadian elections? So things can change in a year, but right now, it's not looking too good. Canada seems to be in the grips of a global financial crisis that's just happening. Astro 03. Hey, Houston. Did you hear that the second largest diamond found in Botswana? What does the discovery of this diamond reveal about the geologic process and conditions in the region where it was found? Yeah, it's huge. It's like 1,000 carats. Large diamond Botswana. It's the biggest found in over a century. 2,492 carats. Okay, that's a big diamond. that is a really gemmy diamond too. Holy smokes. So, nope, that is not what we want. We want you. There we go. Okay. Look at the size of that thing. That is a fist. That is a fist. It's got, it's got a couple fractures, but that is a very, very gemmy diamond. You have some carbon inclusions, not too many. You cut around those things. So you'll probably get, my guess is 1,000 carats out of it if you want to make something solid and big. And several other large ones. So you can probably make one hell of a necklace out of this thing. This is probably worth, when they cut it, like right now, rough, it's probably $10,000 a carat. So you're looking at $200 million or so. Oh, I'm sorry, $100,000 a carat, $200 million or so. Cut, probably approaching $1 million a carat. So if this thing gets cut and they get 1,000 carat stone out of it, you'd be looking at $1 billion diamond. It's freakishly huge, absolutely gigantic, really gemmy. Now the geologic conditions to create this just basically comes down to, there happens to be a lot of carbon, big block of carbon that was in that Kimberlite, deep down in the earth, where there was a lot of pressure to make this thing. That's it. It just comes down to luck, like how much carbon happens to be in one spot under that pressure to form a diamond like this. So it's probably a big chunk of coal, graphite, generic carbon or something just got cooked, pressed into this thing, and there you go. My theory on how these Kimberlite pipes form, I have no research, no studies, no experiments to prove this. Just, working through my brain is that, well, actually we can go back to the paint here. Okay, we will go new. Don't save. Okay, so we have goo ball earth. We'll do red. So goo ball earth is a big molten pile of goo. Actually, you know what we can do? Because we have the technology. There we go. We can make a perfect circle. Okay, so we got goo ball earth, and inside goo ball earth we have a core, right? And inside that core, oops, I'll move you over. There we go. And this core is all molten goo as well. But the planet is differentiating, meaning the heavy stuff is sinking down towards the core, and the light stuff will make you pink, is floating up towards the surface. Because it's just the way it works. It's buoyancy, right? So heavy stuff's going down, light stuff's going up. But we also have convection zones because the heat isn't evenly distributed. You got some cooling happening because you got the coldness of space hitting the surface, and you have the hot core where things are under lots of pressure. So what you can have, and let's see if I can do this. I may have to do red again. Is you have these convective patterns where the heat goes up, right? And then it starts to cool. Probably shouldn't use green because some of you are colorblind. And then it starts to sink back down again. So these, in my opinion, my hypothesis is that these convective layers were actual molten goo that was convecting, and these are where the Kimberlite pipes came from. So they brought lots of carbon up with it, right? It was very, very squished down the diamonds, and then it cooled and brought down some cooler material that was more dense with it, back down to the core where it warmed up, and then you start that whole cycle all over again. Now, this stuff got really close to the surface. Usually Kimberlite pipes, they seem to have ended about 100 kilometers under the surface, but because of plate tectonics and continental drift and all that stuff, these things smash, they rise, they climb, they make giant mountains, the mountains erode down, they smush again, they rise. Is that you have some things, like you can go to the Craton in Wyoming, if we bring up the Google Earth. So we go to Wyoming out here. And some of this rock that's here used to be 30 to 100 kilometers under the surface, and now it's, 7 to 10,000 feet above the rest of the continent. And you can go down and you can see the tops of these kimberlite pipes. All these little lakes. All these lakes through here. Every single one of these tiny little ponds and lakes, all these little circles in here, these are all kimberlite pipes here in Wyoming. About half of them have diamonds and half of them do not. So my theory is that you have these pipes that have these big arcing convective zones. Diamonds came up, other stuff went down, and then the connecting part between those two tubes got eroded away, so you're just left with look like these straight pipes that go straight down to the mantle. And that's my theory as to why half of kimberlite pipes have diamonds and half do not. And kimberlite pipes are the same thing that's happening in Botswana. So here, these kimberlite pipes are in granite, and the granite is much tougher than the surrounding rock. The granite is much tougher than the kimberlite pipes that they're in. So the kimberlite pipes erode more easily and make these little depressions, and have like soft soil and look like little salt flats in them and stuff, and form little ponds. Whereas the granite itself, stays true a lot longer. Go to Botswana, the surrounding rock. I can't remember what the surrounding rock in Botswana is, but it's not granite, and it actually is softer than the kimberlite, so they form little mounds. See if we can find some here. Here's Botswana. The diamond range, I believe, is in the southern half of the country. So, well, maybe they do form deposits out here. Maybe it's South Africa that they. All right. These look like kimberlite pipes to me. Round little guys. You pick pictures of the structures. I don't give a crap. There we go. So these actually look like kimberlite pipes to me. So they're forming kind of similar. In South Africa, the rock is different, and they form little mounds rather than because they erode slower than the surrounding rock. But you can just look and see these kimberlite pipes, all these circly little guys all over the place, and a lot of them have diamonds, a lot of them don't. You can see that some of them look like they may have been mined at one time or another. But yeah, the surface area is full of these things. You can see them from space. All these little dots all over the place. So going to South Africa, they're there. Yeah, so that's where they're coming from. And just every once in a while, in one of those tubes, find a big one. The biggest diamond ever found in the United States was at Kelsey Lake, and I think it was like 90 carats, 87 carats, something like that. In the Kelsey Lake mine. Let me fly back. Actually, just go like this. Kelsey Lake, Colorado. Shboink. Bing. Go, 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 go. Okay, so this was the Kelsey Lake Diamond Mine here. And it's all been reclaimed since then. Opened in 1987, closed in 2003. And I just got an argument with somebody on Twitter about this. When they opened the mine, they basically had trouble from the start. At the time, in the 1990s, De Beers controlled 90% of all diamond trade in the world. 90+%. And if you wanted to enter the diamond market, De Beers was going to come in. They're like, you're going to go through us. And we're going to control your mine and your people and everything else. And if you said no, they just killed you. Especially if you're in a third world country. This was the first commercial diamond mine opened in the U.S. Since I think they tried Crater Diamonds like 150 years ago, but whatever. First modern diamond mine opened in the U.S. They opened in 97, and almost immediately De Beers came and was like, you can't sell your diamonds. You're not allowed unless you go through us. And then the guys were like, we're Americans. We do whatever we want. And De Beers is like, you cannot. And I haven't heard of any murders that happened at Kelsey Lake, but people had their dogs murdered, their cars blown up, their equipment set on fire, their homes burned down. And they went to the U.S. government, like, hey, U.S. government, help me. And the U.S. government's like, help you with what? And they're like, these Dutch super soldiers are trying to kill us, so we can't open our mine. And the U.S. government's like, that sounds like a you problem. And because the U.S. government kind of sucks at that stuff. And they didn't do anything. They didn't help them at all. And by 2003, they're like, this isn't worth it. I mean, this is a small operation that was producing $100 million a year in diamonds. And they could not afford to do battle with De Beers. In the late 90s, early 2000s, about the same time, the diamond mines in the Northwest Territories in Canada opened. We zoom out and we go up to the Northwest Territories up here. And you can see from the surface, we have lots of little pockmarks and all sorts of things and little lakes. And a lot of these are Kimberlite pipes. It was a geologist from the University of Washington who made this discovery. And unlike the U.S. government, the Canadian government helps you. So he goes to the Canadian government. He's like, hey, can I have permission to do an exploration for diamonds in the Northwest Territories? And the Canadian government was like, of course you can. Here's $3 million and a team of geologists. And he's like, what? And so he goes, makes a giant diamond discovery. And De Beers tries it again. They threaten him like, no, you can't open a mine here. And the guy's like, but I made a discovery and I got the Canadian government. And they're like, no. And they started, doing their sabotage and threats. So he goes to the Canadian government. He's like, hey, De Beers is threatening me. And the Canadian government's like, the fuck they are. And so a secret war happened for like 2 years in the early 2000s where I'm sure people died. I'm sure Canadian spies were infiltrating De Beers. De Beers spies were infiltrating Canadian government. By about 2003, it was over. Canada won. And as a result, they weakened the threat structure of De Beers so much that Australia kicked them out, Botswana essentially kicked them out, Brazil kicked them out, Angola kicked them out. And we had this sort of liberation of diamond mines across the world. And De Beers went from controlling 90% of the market to controlling about 30, maybe 40%. Like they have to sign these very favorable partnerships now with these countries. So De Beers just signed a very, very, very favorable partnership with the Canadian government to control the mines in Northwest Territories. That is basically like, you're allowed to sell like half our diamonds, but you have to give most of the profit to us, type thing. Whereas before it was like, you give us our diamonds and we don't kill you. That was kind of how De Beers worked for a long time. So we just diamonds, man. I don't know if we'll ever be able to make one that big as what we saw in that picture or not. Where are we? Chrome. Anything that big? In a lab. So if you want giant diamonds, you probably still have to find some natural ones like this. They made some decent sized ones for one of the probes that went to the sun and Mercury, and they used blue diamond for the lenses on the camera because it has incredible thermal properties. Like diamonds are hydrophobic, and they're one of the most efficient heat transfers in the entire world. Well, one of the ways you can test it for a diamond is you can touch it, like touch someone's ring, and if it's cold to the touch, it's a diamond. If it's room temperature, it is not a diamond. But it has very, 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 very strong properties across huge thermal ranges. So you can have something that's in the darkness of space at minus 200 degrees and point towards the sun. We'll get to 5,000 degrees and take a picture, and it won't crack or shatter or anything like that. So they have great thermal properties. And there's been people trying to make computer chips out of them, so they don't have to worry about cooling systems on computer chips anymore. So if you can replace silica with diamond, you can have the same processing power, but not have to worry about cooling. So you save on a lot of energy, and you can just have these like very warm boxes in your house that do all your processing for you. But I'm not sure what type of marketing the diamond industry is going to have in the future now that synthetic ones are getting cheaper and cheaper. But this thing is definitely a one-off. It's going to be, when they cut it, probably $1 billion stone. So, way to go, Botswana. Way to go. You give me that look, monkey. Like he's sitting in the chair. He's talking to the wall. It's got to be treat time, right? Well, it's 3:30. Got an hour to go. We treat time. Oh yeah, is that what you want? Yeah, is that what your little face wants? We can do that. We can nuggy time it. Come on, get up here. Come on, get it, get it. Oh, come on. Oh, you're so dainty. Such a dainty dog. So gentle. Gentlest murder machine in the entire world. Okay, Lisa Saw, Houston. How come a handful of rich people dying in a yacht accident is getting so much media coverage? Well, isn't it like the chairman of Morgan Stanley and a couple of guys who got like sued or criminal charges for like antitrust, unfair monopolistic practices? Or at least one of the guys, his partner was killed by a hit and run in London the day before. So people are like, The conspiracy theories are running hot. There are also some kids that were on the boat that died, which is a real bummer. And I think like 20 crew or something. It was one of those like Pernini Navi mega yachts, huge sailboats. The squall that came up apparently was just gnarly. You can't plan that. You get a storm like that comes out of nowhere, and you have an entire boat of people that aren't prepared for it. Bad things are going to happen. Just be on a sailboat in huge seas, and just the most terrifying thing you can ever do is you'll shit yourself. That's just how easy that is. Yeah, so there's a lot of media coverage because billionaires keep drowning. Okay, Chapman, how's your mom's hip doing? I work in pre-op planning knees, but been expanding recently into hips and shoulders. Pretty cool technology. Her hip's great. It's been 2 years and 2.5 years now. And yeah, her hip is perfect. It was her second. She got her first one done 2013, second one done in 2022. And they're great. Again, like, knees are terrible to get done. The recouping time's forever. Hips, they literally just saw your femur in half, take that out, jam a metal rod in there, smack it into your hip socket, sew you up, and then a couple hours later have you stand up and walk around. It is just mind-blowing. Ever since they figured out how to go through the front and not the back, it's changed lives. When they had to go through the back to change the hip, the recovery time took forever. But now it's like, within 6 weeks, she was totally normal. She had, her stitches were healed, the pain was gone. She didn't have, too much problem with mobility. Just do your physical therapy and keep stretching, and you're good to go. Right, initial shout out for Monkey Butt and Fat Cat. I think they both did. Monkey took her treat and just bailed. What a dog. Danny Boats, happy Houston birthday. Why do you think GME never corrected the DTCC on their dividend distribution stock split issue? Wasn't that blatant, unrefutable international securities fraud? I think because the argument from the DTCC was your CFO filled out the paperwork wrong, and they just used that to their advantage, even though it wasn't the spirit of what GameStop wanted, because he messed up the paperwork. It allowed them to do that, and so that's why they never bothered. So instead, my guess is they're going for other avenues to win against these guys. So Chris Taylor's gonna be Houston in the Wild tonight. It's kind of chilly. It's been sprinkling today, so no Houston in the Wild today. Ultimate in the middle, first numero uno in Espanol. Fabrizio, OMG, GameStop up 80%. What? What? Something after hours happened? No, it's not. Don't do that to me. It's flat as ever. And it's friend, Aloha from Wahoo. So MMTLP is on the OTC. What's the chances we can come out of this money pit? 0. 0 chances. They're Chapter 7. They're not reorganizing. It's a massive sell-off of everything. They won. Anything of value is gone. They don't have that much in Knowles because they weren't that big in debt. It's toast. The shorts absolutely, thoroughly, unconditionally beat the hell out of us on this one. And that's where we are. Wish it was better. I wish a lot of things. But Uzi and the shorts went in there with a purpose to destroy the company, and that's what they managed to do. So, yeah. Belgian whale, what size surfboard do you ride? I like my 9-footer. I mostly ride a longboard when I was surfing a lot. I had a 9-foot Nectar. I've ridden shortboards a couple of times, but for the most part, like, I would usually go so infrequently that I just never maintained the arm strength to do much surfing with the shortboard out there. Plus, I wasn't good enough to like rip a wave. I could walk a board and hang 5 and stuff, but that's pretty much what I would do with the longboard. I've surfed bigger waves a couple of times, and one time it went really badly. I got such a concussion. I was in about 10-foot waves. The face is much bigger than 10 feet. If you know about wave height, you measure it from the back. And I went out. It was the biggest wave I ever surfed in my life. I body surfed things that big, but on a board where you're up tall, I had never done it before. And I started to purl, which is like when the tip of the board catches in the water and just dives the board down. And I flew off, and somehow the timing, as what described to me, is that my head hit the water at the same time the curl of the wave hit my head and just kind of pinched my head. And I don't remember it. Like, kind of, 30, 45 seconds later, I'm on the beach. I'm like, what the hell just happened? And that was, I was a little gun shy surfing things that big after that. My brother, on the other hand, is big wave surfed. He's surfed Chopo, he's surfed Mavericks, he's surfed the Wedge, he's surfed Jaws, he's surfed everything that you can imagine, and 40-foot waves and more. And I am not that ballsy in any way, shape, or form. Oh crap! Chat just reset. Come on. Where are we going? Okay. Soccer 4. Houston. What did you think about Whoop Ass's presentation last Friday PP show? Oh, very, very solid presentation. To run it down, basically, HBC has their shares or has them for a proxy, one or the other, and they're not giving up those shares. That's basically what the argument came down to, is that they own a huge chunk of this company, or whoever their proxy was, or whoever their proxy for, I should say, own a huge chunk of this company, and they're not just gonna be like, yeah, just let those shares go off the ether. Oh, $300 million down the drain. Oh well, right? They're not gonna do that, and that's the strongest argument you could possibly make, is that none of these big boys are going to allow not put up a fight for Class 9 if they just threw $300 million down the drain. Getting rid of the ABL was very poignant and very strategic, and was done with purpose. And the fact that they denied Cohen his ability to assume control of the company for $400 million is basically in violation of fiduciary duty for the company, especially if they knew they were on the path to bankruptcy. So he's got them by the balls there. And yeah, it's a good presentation. I highly recommend it. It's from last Friday. They also posted like a PDF, sort of like a slideshow the next day that I highly recommend reading. It should be a link to it on PP's Twitter. Grape Knowles. Hello, H-Man. Happy birthday. Sincerely happy birthday. If you were the voice of America's zeitgeist, what would it be saying right now, perhaps in a proper zeitgeist accent? I'm not sure what a zeitgeist accent would be. It would be Freudian. It would be probably, we are not going to go back to Donald Trump. He's toast. That's probably it. He's done. Ding dong. What do you think about Siri? Like, it's got a lot of shares. They're doing a reverse split, like a 10-to-1 reverse split, so it'll be less. They're doing some sort of merger, but against reverse splits never work out for the investor. So if you're going to invest in it, I say invest in it after, get puts now, something like that. I don't think Roaring Kitty is part of Sirius Radio. I just don't think so. It doesn't fit his MO. His MO is small floats with large insider control. And this is not one of those things. Granted, Warren Buffett apparently is buying it like crazy, which is something. But I'm not throwing any money at it. I could be totally wrong, and it could moon, and I just didn't get a part of it. But I'm not bothering. Lobby, is Adam Kinzinger speaking tonight? I have no idea. I don't know who's speaking tonight. I'll be at work. I won't see whoever's speaking tonight. I'll see clips afterwards, and then see the highlights and whatnot. Matt Houston, how do you feel about your girlfriend Kamala saying she wants to impose 25% tax on realized gains I think that's ridiculous that you have to pay taxes on gains you haven't sold. I mean, you and I won't. If you're worth more than $100 million, possibly. But the loopholes for rich people to avoid paying taxes while realizing their gains are gigantic, right? If you have $100 million in some stock, you can borrow $100 million. You can spend that money as if you realize those gains, and then you can sell the stock to pay off your loan and not pay any taxes on it, right? So let's say you have $100 million, it becomes $200 million, and you do that exact same thing. Guess what? You're paying a 25% tax on the $100 million you just made, buddy. So you're not going to be able to use that loophole anymore of borrowing from a bank, spending all the money everywhere, and then selling your stock and paying off the loan, and not paying taxes on it. It's just that's a loophole, and then the loophole needs to go away. So yeah, I really have no problem with it. I personally think that if you get to $1 billion, that's it. You're done. They give you an award that says congratulations, you won capitalism, and there you go. You are now forced into retirement, and you get to sit on your thumbs and enjoy your mansions and jets and supermodels and anything else. But I don't think we need to have people accumulate hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in wealth, enjoy the benefits of that wealth by having their little margin accounts, and then never paying taxes on fucking any of it if they can avoid it, right? So, yeah, I don't know exactly how they're gonna do it, how they're gonna make them pay that tax, but I have no problem with it. Honestly, the rich in this country are eating us alive, and there has to be some way to claw back what they've taken from everyone. The rich have gained $40 trillion globally, and the poor have lost $40 trillion. It really is amazing how that works, right? Like, wow, wow. The American public lost $7 trillion in wealth during COVID, and the richest people gained $7 trillion in wealth. Huh. Weird how that happens, right? So I think there's ways we can do it that are responsible, and we have to figure out some way to make these assholes pay, because they're figuring out all the ways where they don't have to. Chris Taylor rides a 7'9" fun board for me, a tweener, that's what I call him. Aaron Salentine, so Houston. I have been buying RS stocks on Fidelity. Started with $20. Oh yeah, that's right. You buy the one stock and there's a reverse split and they give you like a full share or whatever. Started with $20 2 months ago, and now the account is $151. All off a reverse split loophole. First goal is $1,000. Might take a while to get there, but yeah. Senate Sapien Houston, when's the next major date in Bratia? I don't know. Anyone know the next date on that one? I assume soon. I assume it probably has to do with a ruling from the court. My guess is going to be get the fuck out of here dismissal. Monsoon, I bought 19 bonds. All they said was available on E-Trade for BBY 2034. My country, it says DK Butterfly 1. Does that sound right? On Edgar, I see there was a name change 923. Yes. I think DK Butterfly 1 is the main company, or is that the first subsidiary? Yeah, one of those. George Manson. Also, George has... Robert Manson. I read George and Robert at the same time. Robert Manson. If George, meaning I think George Palcaris, has a few rich friends, he could do a credit bid, get his knolls and claw back the BS the CEO did. I don't think there's anything left. They sold off the money-making portions. They abandoned all the IP, or they sold the IP. There's just nothing left. All they'd have is knolls, and then nothing that they could make because everything else is gone. So I don't know. I don't know if you could, personally. I mean, you could try, but I don't think there's anything left to get. Cirque Invidiosa 1892. Hey, Houston. Hello. Daphne. Before you forget to like the stream and hit the share button. Yes, do that thing. Call on third intro. Chris Taylor, empty space is expanding faster than light, but objects within that space can't and don't travel through space at the speed of light. It's the apparent speed that they're traveling. 4ZZ9, Pulte is shit right now with the light being shown on people he associates with. Yeah, Andrew Tate going to prison for touching kids, not the best thing. Zach Morris, not a good dude to hang out with. Donald Trump, he's kind of I don't know if he's attracting the toxic people or if he gravitates to them himself, but find better people to hang out with. That's my opinion. Belgian Whale. Will MMTLP only be resolved when they sell everything? 48 and need to be rich now, damn it. MMTLP's got a couple options. One, they find some sort of agreement with the government, SEC, FINRA, etc., that involves fines and payouts and closing short positions, blah, blah, blah. That's one way to resolve it. Two, they find a buyer for their assets, and they sell those, and then give everybody cash. That's another way to solve it. Three, which I think is the nuclear option that they're going for, is they get S1 approval to spin off the subsidiary, NUCO, which is the drilling operation that would own 10% of the oil rights and things. And they do it on a blockchain, T0 or similar, and they give those shares to people who are registered. And this would force all the shorts out there and all the other brokerages who cannot transfer shares over because the shares don't exist, they would have to go into the T0 market or equivalent and buy those NUCO shares. They would be forced to. They would basically be forced purchase these things because they got to make good on the dividend, and the price would absolutely scream. And I think this is the nuclear option. They're going to be holding up a gun to, forcing some sort of resolution out of FINRA and the SEC or the shorts in general. Be like, look, guys, we're going to do this whether you like it or not, and you're going to pay us whether you like it or not. Do you want to make it structured, or do you want to make it unstructured chaos? Because we can do either way and we're fine. That's my guess. I have no idea what the timeline is going to be, though, on that. Yeah. Julia says, give a couple more weeks for Mr. Beast. Yeah, Mr. Beast, apparently all his big giveaways and everything, he just gave things to his friends and family in violation of a host of like raffle laws and things. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Cirque Invidiosa. Houston, do you see the post about the investors in X-Corp UFTA Fidelity? Yeah, that got released in court. What's amazing is that we had articles that Ken Griffin paid a good chunk of money, $20 million or more, to be an investor in X, and none of him or his subsidiaries were listed in there as investors, but Fidelity invested a boatload. I knew Fidelity last summer had taken the value of Twitter from 44 billion down to 6 billion, so a $38 billion loss basically on the company. And they're probably smart and real good right now. I don't know how much they invested, but they had a ton of subsidiaries and funds that were invested in there. And those things are probably performing very poorly. Turkish, why is there a delay in BPY? What's the delay? Where's the money, Lebowski? The delay is there's 500 lawsuits going on. We need them all to go away. Devastator Omega. Afternoon, everyone. Daily reminder that Elon is a dum-dum. Tampa Bay Buckeye. Schwab TD is the next Lehman Brothers doomed, very toxic book. Yeah, $300 billion unrealized losses is going to be really hard to bounce back from. Yeah, BDO brand, that's a big diamond. They'll spend a year deciding how to cut it. At least. And the machines they have now, they'll scan that thing. They will figure out where all the inclusions are. They'll figure out the best way to cut it and what shape to make it out of. The computer systems are pretty neat to do those things now. Sir Barther, I'm way behind. Don't dox your peeps with those envelopes, fist waving. And then everyone knows we have the Houston Wade Show phone book. If King Griffin buys that diamond, let me shut up. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, $1 billion rock. You can easily move from one country to another. Keep overseas where it can't be seized. Stuff like that. Daphne, who needs Moas Houston when you can find Kimberlite diamonds? You can. I just need to get myself a working truck again. I just need to get on that. Go get my diamonds. Look at Houston drawing a flat earth. Marco Patrick, Houston. Is it true that a month or two after GME had its first squeeze, the powers that be changed the way short interest was calculated to not show rehypothecation? If so, can we trust? Can we get true short interest? They changed it before. It was the fall of 2020 is when they changed how short interest is calculated. So it was before this whole thing blew up. It was basically the folks on Reddit were pointing out like, oh my God, this thing shorted 140%. How can that be? And then S3 Partners changed how they calculate short interest. Mags on Twitter has been having some good threads where she shows how like a company on Morningstar will have 150% what's the word I'm looking for, monkey? Like investment bank ownership, insider ownership, investor ownership, and that the short interest will be like 22%. So, banks, funds, whatever will own 150% of a company, and the short interest is only 20%. Oh, that's amazing. I wonder how that was calculated, because there's 100 million shares and 150 million shares are owned by these 20 banks right here. How are you going to rectify that? Bung magoo. My Microsoft and Amazon options got wrecked so hard today. I'm going to need a big day tomorrow. Yeah. Bung magoo, did you ever touch on Wells Fargo? I talked about it. I didn't pick the article here. Wells Fargo unrealized losses. Put that in news. A month ago. What's the news from today? Ding dong. I have to go to Twitter and find it. There we go. Squeeze the cow. 48.76 billion of net unrealized losses between their available for sale and held to maturity debt securities the quarter ending June 30th, 2024. 84.2% were held to maturity securities. So this is McSqueezy posting yesterday? Yeah, yesterday about it. So it's from the 10Q. Oops. That's a lot of losses. 48.76 billion. Oof. So, yeah. This type of stuff that you just... And it's going to get bigger. Because as these guys, realize their losses or assume control of commercial properties and things that are going under, then the value of them drop even more. It becomes like a reverse squeeze, right? Where, if someone has one gold bar, that gold bar is very in demand for everyone else. They can charge whatever they want for it because there's only one gold bar. If everyone has 100 gold bars, then gold bars are common and no one gives a shit anymore, right? The price goes. If you've got a couple distressed commercial properties, you might be able to sell one here and there because there might still be some demand. But if all the distressed commercial properties appear on the market at once, then the value of them drops even more, causing even more of these commercial properties to go under, which causes the value to drop more, which causes more of these commercial properties to go under, which causes the value to drop more. And it just becomes a snowball of chaos at that point. And I think that's kind of where we are. We're snowballing of chaos. MS, Houston. By some miracle, you see this, please share best worst thing you've read lately, non-political, sous vide plate. Best worst thing I've read recently. I read the short story book that that Tom Hanks put out was actually pretty decent. I actually enjoyed it. I was like, oh, I didn't know he was a writer. Worst thing I read recently. I think the last time I shut a book on myself, I was like, no. Nothing's coming to mind at the moment as to what the worst thing I've read recently. I'll come back to you on that one. Nothing's clicking in my brain. There are books that I get like 30 pages in and I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's so poorly written, or it just insults my intelligence. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm normally the person who will sit through the worst movie in the entire world and go, wow, that sucked. But I watched the entire thing. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, no. I'm not going to spend another 2 hours on this thing. Bye-bye. So if I'm with friends, I can rip on it with them. That's one thing. But there's been some really terrible movies that I've started. That will finish. But book-wise, generally most books I read on recommendations of other people, or other people bought them for me. Like, you should read this. And that's what... And they usually have pretty good taste. But only every once in a while, I'm like, ew. I can't remember what the last one was. I mean, it was so bad, I just put it out of my mind, I think. Tampa Bay Buckeye, Houston. Tell them about corundum and aluminum oxide undergoes a process referred to as isomorphosis, which in some of the aluminum ions are substituted with chromium to form precious rare rubies. This is true. So corundum is rubies and sapphire. They're the same stone. But you get red, or more pink red, from chromium impurities in it. Just like you have beryls, right? They have like emeralds and morganite and aquamarine and stuff. The color usually comes from what the impurity is. And in emeralds, it's vanadium, or I think chromium as well. I think chromium is the impurity, either one. And there's been an argument about which one is more emerald, because most of the world, I think it's vanadium. But in Brazil, it's chromium, and they're like, those aren't real emeralds, but they're the same kind of green color as a result. But yeah, it's all about impurities. Bixbyte, which is my favorite beryl. It's a red beryl. It's one of the rarest gemstones on Earth, only found in Utah. The impurities in that, I think, is manganese. That makes it red. So yeah, there's all sorts of things. Blue diamonds, it's boron. So there you go. Usually iron, I think, and red diamonds make it red. Oh, there's reset the chat, sorry. Daphne, gotta go. Bye, everyone. Bye, Daphne. Adam M was a banana, always a banana. I haven't been around long enough to know otherwise. I have knolls in my yard. I dig a lot of holes. Tampa Bay Buckeye, Houston's surf name was Washington Wipeout. Many times, yes. My brother was out surfing the coast this weekend. We've got some big storm waves. Probably some more coming. Got a couple of hurricanes in the Central Pacific. I don't think they're going to hit Hawaii. Central Pacific Hurricane Center. Oh, did they merge? What the hell? Looks like they merged. So we got here. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm doing. Boom. Central Pacific Hurricane Center. There's Hawaii. Once it crosses the 140th parallel here, or sorry, not parallel, longitude, then it's actually in the domain of the Central Pacific Hurricane Center. But looks like we got major hurricane, hurricane. And by the time it gets close to Hawaii, it's a storm. What happens is, got to go back to Google Earth. Google Earth. So we've talked about the trade winds before. You have the major deserts at the 30 degree latitudes, and this is because all the warm air, the sun's just beating down the equator all day long. What causes that warm air to rise, and then it has to go somewhere. Convective zones, just like I just showed with my theory for the inside of the Earth. And the air goes somewhere, it cools, and it descends over the 30 degree latitude. So you have all your major deserts, Mojave, Gobi, Sahara, Kalahari, Atacama. They're all like 30-degree-ish latitudes out back of Australia. And this descending air comes down, and when it comes down, it's to go somewhere. And so you get these trade winds that go 350 days a year, blow from California over Hawaii, down into the Pacific, down to the Central Pacific again, where the equator is, and they can then, get warm and go back up again. So the convective process is it goes from the equator, drops on California, blows over Hawaii, goes back to the equator, does that cycle over and over and over. As a result of that constant wind, it's blowing all the surface water to the South Pacific, causing colder water to upwell. So if you were to zoom in on Hawaii, there's basically a line where these islands are, where there's really, really, really warm water on the leeward side, where the winds aren't as strong and they're protected by these islands. And the water's a little bit cooler. When I say cooler, it's like 78 degrees, where this is in the 80s, right? Fahrenheit. And generally, the 28-degree thermocline is at the south end of Hawaii, 20 degrees Celsius thermocline. And that's the temperature you need that or warmer to really produce huge storms. And so when these hurricanes come along, oftentimes they kind of spool up and they head north and they weaken and they disappear. If they happen to go under the Big Island, then they can get huge because it's these calm, extremely warm waters. So Iniki, that just wiped out Kauai back in '92, had with 200-mile-an-hour winds. It was a pretty big storm, but once it got into the leeward side of the islands, where it really had tons of warm energy from that ocean, it just became a superstorm, smashed into Kauai and just destroyed. The Big Island has been hit with one hurricane in living memory, and that was in 2014. What was the name of that one, Monkey? There's the one that hit Puna, and just kind of the eye wall came, hit Puna, and just kind of sat over this for like a day, and then just dissipated after that. And I arrived for a wedding the day after this hurricane hit, and just meth head central was taking over. They robbed the police station and were stealing ambulances and just chaos until the police finally could chainsaw everything up and get control of all the meth heads. But Hilo was fine. Hilo never had any wind. They got all the wind right here because that's where the hurricane came and just kind of sat and knocked all the Albizia trees down and Albizzias, and then went on its way. We had a hurricane that went under. So it's that same year, I think it was 2014. A hurricane went under the Big Island in September. Became huge, just like a Category 5. Missed a whole bunch of stuff. Spooled up in the trade wind currents. Came across. Once it crosses a certain parallel, I think the 45th parallel, it becomes a post-tropical cyclone. So it's no longer a hurricane, even though it's got the exact same look to it and the same power and everything. Came up here because it doesn't have the warm waters, motored across, and then slammed into Seattle like a month later. It was the same storm. Was born off Mexico, worked its way up, never stopped spinning, hit Seattle with 90-mile-an-hour winds that would have been equivalent of like Category 1 or 2 hurricane. And but it wasn't called that. It was just like a post-tropical cyclone. We got a windstorm. That's what they call it. Same thing, the Columbus Day storm in 1965, which was like the biggest storm ever, was a similar September type thing where a hurricane formed off Mexico, went up the coast of Japan, blew across, then slammed into the northwest. Yeah. So, I don't know, what was I talking about? Hawaii? Oh yeah, I was talking about hurricanes and surf and all those things. So the surf right now on the east side of the Big Island is probably monstrous. We're getting there. Devastator Omega, why did Roaring Kitty go dark again? He seems sus to me now. I think he's still got plans. I think he's quiet because he's doing something. Last time he went quiet, he appeared with hundreds of millions of dollars. So he's doing something when he's quiet. Christy, sorry if you have said this before, but can you explain the difference between the OG way and the Common Core version of math? My little guy started kindergarten. OG way is explaining the steps to involved with math, and the Common Core way is sort of having you discover how the discovery was made, if that makes sense. Because the idea is they want you to be able to not just do the rote memorization of this is how you do addition and subtraction, this is how you do multiplication, this is how you do fractions or whatever. They want you to discover on your own a method for doing it, and then they reinforce it with the tried true method. That's kind of it. So like they might say, how would you calculate if you have 5 dozen eggs, how many eggs do you have? And let's go to the Common Core page here. Right, we're gonna turn you off. We're gonna turn you off. We're going to make you disappear. File. Come on. New. Don't save. So you got 5 dozen eggs, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, this is my wonderful egg carton drawn with my mouse. I have a drawing pad and I cannot seem to get it to work to save my life. Copy. Paste. 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 That's much easier. And paste. Okay. So you have 5 dozen eggs. Yes, kid. How many eggs do you have? You can count them, right? You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah, 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 blah. You count them up and you get 60. Cool. You can know your multiplication tables that 5 times 12 is 60. You can memorize that too. Or you can ask the child. They're usually pretty young when they're going through this. And they've learned things like they know some things like easy, like 3 times 10 is 30, 4 times 10 is 40, 5 times 10 is 50, right? And you can say, oh, you know what? We have in this, we've got 10 eggs and 2 eggs. And we can then like separate them all. Actually, yeah, we can separate them all. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of 10. That's 50 eggs. And then we've got 5 sets of 2. How much is that? You can go, oh, that's 10. So what's 50 plus 10? Boom, 60 eggs. And so this is a way of like building how kids can do this math in their head quickly when they might not necessarily have multiplication tables memorized, right? You can do it with larger numbers, smaller numbers, and they just kind of build on that. So they do this in a whole bunch of different ways. And even when I was like in calculus, doing calculus in college, I had a professor that had us figure out, a Riemann on our own. You get this project with this weird, crazy equation, and had to do with, calculating the speed of a boat on a river. So like, if like you have a river that's shaped like this because of an equation, and its speed is dependent upon its location. So you have a graph here, and if it reaches 0, it's at 0. If it reaches 100, it's at 100 knots or whatever. And you have to calculate how long it's going to take this boat to travel the river. We basically invented Riemann's hypothesis, and on our own using an Excel spreadsheet, and figured out kind of the speed. And then they showed us integral calculus and how that actually works, and you can do this, all these integrals to make this stuff. But it stuck with me. But this is what Riemann did. He broke these things down in infinitesimals, and he calculated each infinitesimal and he added them all up. And then integration is just doing that. So that's kind of the basis. And there's a lot of stuff that you learn in school that they never explain to you why you should know it. Like, PEMDAS, right? So, and if you're a British European, you might call it BODMAS. PEMDAS. PEMDAS exists for a reason, and it's not just because it helps keep equations organized. It's because it's sort of the levels of sophistication in mathematics. So we have parentheses, I can't write. Exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, right? And this is the order of operations you do math equations with. Well, the reason why it's grouped this way is because of how math evolved. So addition and subtraction, those were the cheaters' way of doing counting. Because remember, we got 10 fingers. We'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if I knew I had 5 fingers in this hand and I had 5 fingers and I add them together, get 10, and so on. It's cheaters' way of doing math, right? There's subtraction. I got 10 fingers, and I chopped 4 of them off. I have 10 minus 4 fingers. Subtraction. It's cheaters' way of doing counting. Multiplication, division are cheaters' ways of doing addition, subtraction. Right. So if I have 20 friends, we all have 10 fingers. Then we go 20 times 10 to find out we've got 200 fingers amongst all of us. It's a cheater's way of doing that. Exponents, power of 2, power of 3, square roots, etc. This is a cheater's way of doing multiplication, division. And then parentheses are just sort of divas. They're just look at me, pay attention to me first. So you do your math equations based upon like how much cheating went into creating that system of math to make this, right? If you were, I don't know, the census taker for the king of Prussia, or Persia, let's say Persia, a couple thousand years ago, and the king's like, I want to know how many goats are in my kingdom. You can go out and count every single solitary goat and count millions of goats, but like, there's this many goats. It would take you an entire lifetime, right? Or you can go to a couple of cities, do a couple of surveys, figure out how many goats in each one of those cities, how many goats there are per people, right, per person, and then you can multiply that across all the towns in your nation in Persia and go, Your Majesty, there are 2.2 million goats in your country. The king of Persia might go, good enough for me. Right? He's not gonna be able to check. He's gonna have to go out and count himself. He's not gonna fucking do that. So you've got cheaters' ways of doing these calculations. Another one that I think I've talked about before that never occurred to me why pi was pi. It's just like pi is 3.14 blah blah blah. You use it to calculate circles, and they never really told me how it came to be. And it had to do with I think it was Euclid was doing it, and he originally he's trying to figure out how to calculate the size of this square. Let me see if I can here we go. And he figured out one side is brushes. That side's worth 1, that side's worth 1, that side's worth 1, that side's worth 1. So the square around this circle is worth 4. And then he made a second square. He made this second square inside, right? Inside, and this square was smaller. And so the difference between the two, and so on. And what he started doing was he started, instead of doing a square, he made, say, an octagon, right? And then he measured the octagon. And with that octagon, with that octagon, he now had something that was a little bit closer approximation to the circle. And then he did the same thing inside here. He made an octagon inside this thing. Boop, 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 boop. Measured that. And I cannot draw to save my life. Okay. Made an octagon inside of that. And that came a little bit closer to the side of the circle. Then he made one with 16 sides, one with 32 sides, one with 64 sides, one with 128 sides. And he went on and on until he got so close to the actual circumference of the circle. And he discovered that it was basically 3.28 times the size of the diameter. And there you go. Or sorry, 6.28 times the size of the diameter, and then half of that was pi, and that's how they got pi. I didn't learn this until I was actually teaching math in college, how they came about calculating pi in the end. And so what they do with Common Core oftentimes is they sort of have you do this discovery of how these principles were formed, and then after that, they show you the quick ways to do the math. So once you learn the basics behind addition, subtraction, multiplication, then you learn the significant ways that we do this math at higher orders and faster and all those tricks. So that's kind of it. So think of it that way. Not just like, this is how you do long division, boom. They explain to you what division means, right? Like what it means to figure out how many units of something are inside of this larger number and how that discovery came about. Fabrizio, I buy calls whenever people start talking about putting bananas in their ass. Is this a good trading strategy? I guess the question is, has it paid off? If it has, then yes, it's a good trading strategy. Big T Gaming. Teddy becomes the next Berkshire, then unrealized gains tax hurts the poor that become rich. How is that fair? I mean, you're rich, so you're not being hurt, right? You have $100 million plus. I don't think anyone who has $100 million or more is truly being hurt if they're, they make $101 million, they get taxed $250,000 on that extra million. I think they're okay. I think we're going to be just fine. You're still going to be able to have your Bugattis and models and, first class air travel and all that stuff. Turkish, someone asked Houston, are we really fucked with BBY and Knowles are gone? Knowles are not gone. They're not gone. They're still there. Just Miami. Someone posted Jennifer Lopez has been married and divorced to Ben Affleck more times than the Mariners have made the playoffs in the last 20 years. Yes, Scott Service apparently is getting fired. Rumor is Dan Wilson, catching legend for the Mariners, will be made manager. Let's hope this lights a fire in them because they're down to 500. They have the worst record after the All-Star break, I think, except for the White Sox. Worst record in the American League West, that's for sure. They were 15 games above 500, like 20 games above the Astros. Now the Astros are ahead of them. They've completely collapsed after the All-Star break. They have the best pitching staff and the best defense in baseball, but the 30th best offense. And that is really, really hard. If you can't fucking hit the ball, then you're not going to win. You need offense at some point, right? Yeah. Dimitri Maxwell, hey Hooter, how you doing today? Love you and the work you do. Well, thank you. I'm doing well. I'm doing better if they. Oh no, she's hiding back here. She didn't ditch me entirely. She's just being shy. Roaring Titty, what question was he answering? Please and thanks. Oh, I don't know. Swift D6, Kamala's gonna get smoked. No. Shall we go check the updates on the polls? Presidential polls. Let's see what we got here. What are the updates coming in? We'll have a whole bunch coming after the convention, but we got outward intelligence. Harris up by quite a bit. That's general election. 50 to 44, 52 to 48. Yeah, those are big wins. Survey USA, Harris 46, Trump 45. Oh, it's North Carolina. So Harris is now pulling ahead in North Carolina. These were even last week. She's now pulling ahead. New York, big wins. General elections, August 20th. As The Economist has Harris up by 3. Pennsylvania, Harris is losing on this one. That's interesting. That's her advantage. New Hampshire, she's up. Maine, District 1, she's way up. New Hampshire, Maine, general election, Maine, she's way up. Vermont, she's way up. California, she's way, way up. General election, up. All of these. That's SoCal Strategies, Morning Consult, Big Village, and so on. She's going to smoke them. And remember, he's getting sentenced on September 18th. So they still have the convention bump. They'll happen because the convention has been spectacular so far. There's been a stark contrast between the two conventions. You have one convention, which was like, everything's going to shit. We're going to find the person who's responsible and we're going to kill him. That's basically the Republican convention. Lots of deport all immigrants and stuff like that, and just looking for scapegoats and boogeymen. And this convention is like, it's a party. Well, let's make lives good for people. And that's sort of been the entire marketing strategy. And one is preying on people's fears and trying to make them hate people. And the other is having a goofy, fun time, and hey, we're going to make your lives better. And I think that's going to play a lot better. I think Trump's comments on the Medal of Honor is going to doom him with a bunch of veterans and active duty military who generally are a very strong base for Republicans. I think a lot of them aren't going to vote for him now because they've seen with their eyes what the reports coming from John Kelly and Mattis and others talking about how Trump in private talked about soldiers being a bunch of suckers and losers, right? And now you're seeing him basically verifying that mentality towards them. And if you're losing the military vote, and if you're losing the Nazi vote, which is what the Groypers and Nick Fuentes and all those guys were like, don't vote for Trump. He's not, his VP has a brown wife. And like, if you're losing the Nazi vote, you're not going to win the general election. Like, that's the strongest base you have. You have old people, Nazis, military. That's the strongest base, probably outside of evangelicals. And the evangelicals usually encompass that group anyway. He's doomed, man. He's doomed. Like, the only way Kamala loses this point is if, I don't know, she like shoots a dog and on national television and then takes a dump on the tomb of the unknown soldier or something. Like, she's got this thing in the bag at this point. Roaring Tate, can't wait for MOS so I can buy a mall for $100 in the court steps. My mall. And you put in your shops, all you care about, right? Citizen 54. New evidence adds to findings hinting at network of caves on moon. What are the parameters being used to call them caves and not craters? How are caves possible on the moon base? My guess is they'd be more like lava tubes than anything else on the moon. You have lava tubes on Earth, lava flows. The top of the flow solidifies. The inside of the flow vanishes, and you have this nice tube. You have them all over the world. My guess is they'd be lava tubes on the moon. Mark Wood, late to the party. Just wanted to say hi. Hope you have a great evening. Oh crap! Did I miss? Oh, I missed 2 super chats. I'm adding 3 super chats. Oh my gosh, I've got too long explaining. None of them off. Think Trump will see all of his DJT September 20th? Will sell all of his DJT September 20th. He's gonna have to. I mean, he owes hundreds of millions of dollars. He might be remanded to prison on the 18th, or jail at least for contempt. Remember, he gets sentenced. He might have a set period of time to report. He might be able to be out and appeal while he's waiting to report. But if he gets contempt, and they can throw his ass in jail immediately. They put him in handcuffs, throw his ass in jail for however long he's supposed to serve for that contempt. So he might be in jail September 20th. We'll have to wait and see what exactly happens with that. But the judge in that case is not pleased with him. He's violated his gag orders multiple times. He's insulted members of the court, opposition, the judge himself, the judge's family. Like, you don't do that stuff. The judge is not going to let you get away with it. And I think he's going to make an example of him, personally, when this comes down to it. It's not going to be like, home arrest. You get to sit at home for 6 days and then, pick up trash on the side of the road. I think he's getting time. 34 counts. Each one of those can be 4 years. I think they get served concurrently, which means you just would serve the full total 4 years or whatever for him, not consecutive. But, I think he's going to have to sell. And the company's making no money. It's doing $700,000 a quarter. Like, there's family restaurants that are failing because they're only making $700,000 a quarter. So, he's got a lot he needs to do. If anyone is, what I miss? Fuckface Tate Toast. Also, really hoping Uncommitted get a speaker on stage. DNC also F Nazis. I don't think the Uncommitted are getting a speaker. I don't think it's happening. The guy that had speak, who's an American who had family that were hostages, he spoke to the atrocities, and I think that's as much as we're going to get out of the DNC. They're going to try to keep it a very light, fluffy affair for the public. The uncommitted people who are like, that's it, I'm not voting for Harris. Trump has promised to let Netanyahu carpet bomb and kill every single Palestinian. So their option is all Palestinians dead or try for a ceasefire. And we've seen reports come out that Trump was calling Netanyahu to tell him to put off a ceasefire, to not do it until after the election. So we see him violating the Logan Act in this regard, and trying to negotiate on behalf of the United States in violation of that act when we're trying to see peace happen. So I just don't see where they fit at the moment, and so I don't think it's happening personally. I just don't think it's going to happen. Marketing wise, they laid out the strategy and go, yeah, they can complain, but they're going to complain anyway, whether they put them up there or not. So, of note with the polls, they are mostly correct. It's the pundits who are wrong. Yeah. I told you the Emerson College one is the one to look at, and they have her winning by, I think, like 5 points at this point. And that was the one that every state they polled, the national poll, they were only off at most any of those polls by 0.5% across the entire country. So that's the one to look for. And currently, they have her out front pretty decently. I think it's only going to grow, especially if he gets sentenced. Like, imagine he gets sentenced. This is, hypothetical. Imagine he gets sentenced and he gets remanded to jail immediately because of contempt. And he's there through the election, right? He gets 2 months, right? He can't campaign. You have J.D. Vance out there just floundering like Jonah Ryan from Veep, being this complete weird dickhead. And enthusiasm is going to plummet, right? You're going to have a whole bunch of Republicans just not even bother to go vote. I'm like, ugh, we're going to get whooped. There's no point. And they're going to stay home. Meanwhile, you have a whole bunch of people who are like, whoa, yeah, I'm so excited to fucking defeat this asshole. And they're going to go. And it's going to result in, losses in the Senate in Florida. So Rick Scott's out and there's a Democrat in. And all of a sudden we have our majority again. It's going to result in the House flipping by a lot. Hopefully New York has figured their shit out. And so all those New Yorkers that lost their seats in 2022 are going to get them back. And the Democrats will have both houses. They'll have the presidency with a big mandate. And they're going to change filibuster rules. They're going to expand the court. They're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. And so, yeah, I think the pundits who are trying to make this into a horse race are even right now are like, it's not happening, man. Okay. That's 4:30. I gotta go on. I gotta run to the post office before I head to work. Everybody, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll have a great day. Enjoy your evening. And yeah, anything to add, Floor Dog? Nothing over there? Cool. Okay, your third intro. We'll make it the normal one again because that goes quick.